Hi, folks. Just coming at you today with a quick video. I had a friend of mine ask me some questions concerning Deuteronomy chapter 12 and chapter 14, which is within the Torah portion for this week, which you could see right here. Okay, so this is the Torah portion for this week. So the question that, actually three questions, and yeah, I appreciate my friend sending me these questions. So, but the answer, because I'm long-winded anyway, uh, I couldn't really, respond appropriately in Messenger with text. So I thought, well, let me just do it. It'd be so much easier for me to do a video on this. So the first question you can see there is, would you expand Deuteronomy 12, especially verse 20, to the end of the chapter? So we're going to go through this together. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 12. And starting in verse 20. And you'll have to follow along. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you guys, but if you want to open up your Bible, my personal Bible is the Scriptures, so I'll be reading out of the Scriptures. Okay, this is talking about Deuteronomy. This is where Moses, he's basically speaking to a whole new generation. The previous generation, they had all died off. But anyway, that's a whole another story there. But yeah, Joshua, Caleb, that bothers me. So Moses is talking to a whole new generation. Previous generation were all dead. Okay, so Moses is just reiterating. He's going over. He's reminding this new generation of things that the Father had established and had declared in the Torah that the Father gave Moses to the previous generation. So this is talking about verse 20, when Yahovah your Elohim enlarges your border. Okay, so this is talking about the land of Israel, the actual physical land. They're still on the side of the Jordan with Moses, because remember, Moses, he was not, because he struck the rock 2 times instead of speaking to it. The Father penalized him and Aaron both, actually, that him and Aaron both, because they had not obeyed the Father in speaking to the rock to bring forth water. This is the second time around that water was brought forth from rock. But because Moses and Aaron, well, Aaron, I think he was penalized because of that golden calf incident a lot earlier. But either way, Aaron and Moses was not allowed to cross over the Jordan to go over into the promised land. So Moses, starting in verse 20, excuse me, he is talking to this new generation before he passes the torch of responsibility over to Joshua, his Hebrew name being Yehoshua. And so that's what is going on here. Moses is talking to a new generation. And he says, and when Yahovah, your Elohim, enlarges your border, the physical square miles of the land of Israel, as he has promised you, and you say, let me eat meat, because you long to eat meat, you eat as much meat as your being desires. Verse 21, when the place where Yahovah your Elohim chooses to put his name, okay, remember the first place was Shiloh, also pronounced Shiloh. The tabernacle was there for 400 years. And then the Father wanted his tabernacle, he wanted his name to be placed in Jerusalem. So first it was Shiloh, and then until now it is Jerusalem. When the place where Yahovah your Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from you, now this is talking about too far from you. What does that mean? That's talking about the three pilgrimage feast, okay, where the men and of course their wives were, invited to come along with the men, but the men were commanded to make 3 pilgrimage feasts per year. To go to the place where the Father had chosen to place his name. First Shiloh, then Jerusalem. Okay? And he says, the Father says, if the place is too far from you, where you can't, the folks had to bring offerings, right? They had to bring sheep, they had to bring bulls, they had to bring all this livestock with them. Well, if the place was too far from their, location, from the town they lived in or whatever, then they were allowed to bring money with them, so that then when they arrived in Shiloh or when they arrived in Jerusalem, then they could purchase the animals that they needed for the sacrifices. Then you shall slaughter from your herd and from your stock, verse 21, which Yahovah has given you, as I have commanded you, and you shall eat within your gates as much as your being desires. Okay, verse 22. Only as the gazelle and deer are eaten, gazelle and deer are clean animals that are permitted to be eaten. So you are to eat of it. The unclean and the clean alike eat of it. Okay, now this caused me confusion when I first started out in this walk. This caused me confusion. Was this talking about clean and unclean meat? No, it's talking about clean and unclean persons. Okay, because the reason that we know this is when you go to the King James Version and you go to chapter 15 and verse 22, you look it up. If you have a King James Bible, chapter 15 and verse 22, the King James, even though it is, the words are in parentheses, to clarify what the clean and unclean is talking about. It's not talking about clean and unclean animals, it's talking about clean and unclean persons. And we can, I can go there and show you right now. Let me minimize this And let me go to my King James Bible. In fact, I've got the verse. I think I have the verse right here. No, let me go ahead and type in the verse. We want to go to 15. Get my Bible off my keyboard. We want to go to 15:22. Okay, now, if you'll notice, can you see that? Yeah, down here. And thou shalt eat it within thy gates. The unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike. Okay, so it is talking about persons. And then we go up here to verse 22 of Deuteronomy. Yeah, same verse, right? And you shall eat it within your gates. The unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the hart. Okay, those are clean animals right there. I don't know exactly what a hart is, but that's King James for you. But anyway, the King James has person, so they clarify it, even though the words person shall eat it is in, I think it's called parentheses here. And I'm not even positive that I'm saying the right word, but you understand what I'm saying there. You guys that are educated, you know what I'm saying. This was an added statement that is not in the original manuscripts, but it was added by the King James translators, and it was appropriately added because this is clarification of what this verse is talking about here. Let me I got to take down my volume. I'm over modulating here. So anyway, so that clarifies. What verse was that? Okay, let's go back to the questions. Okay, verse 20 of chapter 12 of Deuteronomy. Okay, starting in verse 20, I see later on in chapter 14, it defines clean and unclean. Okay, yeah, chapter 14, that is Moses reiterating or reminding a new generation about the animals that may be eaten and may not be eaten. Deuteronomy 11 is the Leviticus 11, I'm sorry, Leviticus 11, and then the 14th chapter of Deuteronomy. These are where we find the food laws. Leviticus 11 is the original giving of the food laws, and then chapter 14 of Deuteronomy is Moses repeating the food laws to a new generation. So that's where we have the definition of clean and unclean animals. But the confusion, I think, that my friend has here is when it says that in verse 22, the unclean and the clean alike eat of it. Okay, that's talking about persons. So when I read this verse, because the King James, as we've seen just a few minutes ago, in the King James, chapter 15:22 clarifies in a parenthetical statement that it is referring to persons. That when the father tells the folks back here that when the place where the Father chooses to place his name is too far from you, then you can slaughter these animals. Now, what kind of animals we're talking about? We have to go back further into chapter 12. Let's start off in verse 11, okay? Man, sometimes to allow Scripture to interpret Scripture, sometimes we have to go farther back. Let's start off in verse 11 of Deuteronomy chapter 12. And it shall be that unto the place, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and have you guys follow along with me. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 12, and then we're going to start off in verse 11 to see if we can get some clarification on these different offerings and the different animals. Okay, so let me minimize this, and then let me go ahead and use this Bible program here. The first one I used that because it has the Strong's Concordance in it. So we're going to go to what? Deuteronomy chapter 12. And we're going to start off in verse 11. Okay. So let me, can I move my picture down here? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move myself down at the bottom here. Okay. All right, so I think this will be better. Yeah, so we're starting off in verse 11. And then there shall be a place which Yahovah your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. First it was Shiloh, and then it was Jerusalem. There you shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which you vow to Yahovah. Now, we don't have to do this anymore because there's no temple, there's no tabernacle, there's no priesthood. The Levitical priests, they're not functioning anymore. There's no temple. There hasn't been since anywhere from 68 to 70 AD. So this is talking about a time when there was a temple and when there was a Levitical priesthood in place to accept these and to perform these burnt offerings and sacrifices and such. And you shall rejoice before Yahovah your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters and your men servants and your maid servants, and the Levite which is within your gates, for as much as he has no part nor inheritance with you. Remember, so they didn't get any land, but they were provided for. Take heed to yourself that you don't offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see. Okay, the Father was very specific here. The burnt offerings could only be done at Shiloh and then Jerusalem, and that was it. The people who rebelled and refused to obey the Torah, the Mosaic Law, well, they were burning, making burnt offerings all over the place on any high hill they could find. Man, that was a big problem back then. But in the place which Yahovah shall choose in one of your tribes, there is where you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you. This is talking about Shiloh and then Jerusalem. Notwithstanding, you may kill and eat flesh in all your gates, whatever your soul lust after, according, I'm sorry, there, let me try that again. But in the place which Yahovah shall choose in one of your tribes, of course, it was eventually the tribe of Judah, there is where you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you. Notwithstanding, you may kill and eat flesh in all your gates, talking about your home, your hometown, whatever your soul lusts after, whatever you crave, and it was always, there's never, ever, ever any question about eating meat that was unclean. That was never, ever, ever a question. The only meat that they ever thought of eating was among the list of clean animals. Whatever your soul lusts after, according to the blessing of Yahovah your Elohim, which he has given you. The unclean and clean may be eaten there. Okay, this is verse 15. And this is talking about persons. The unclean and clean. Okay, I don't like the way this version has this because it is confusing. This is Modern King James Version. I don't like that. That is confusing. Let's go to this version here. This is the King James Pure Cambridge edition. So let's go back. Let's start off where we were and see if that doesn't render that verse with a little bit better clarity for us. We were in verse 15 of chapter 12 of Deuteronomy. Okay, notwithstanding, thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, according to the blessing of Yahovah your Elohim, which he has given thee. So the King James, I have some issues with the King James Version, but all in all, they really hit the nail on the head, and they certainly did here. The unclean and the clean person, because we have clarification of that in 1522. Let's go there real quick. 1522. This is the King James Version, and we will get clarification of that right here. See this? And thou shalt eat within thy gates. The unclean and clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the hart. Okay, so when we go back to chapter 12 and verse 20 and verse 15, actually, and it says the unclean and the clean person may eat of it. I don't know why they couldn't offer the same parenthetical statement that they offered in chapter 15 to verse 22, but this is up to you to mark in your own Bible the added parenthetical statement that the King James put in chapter 15 and verse 22. Put it here too. Put it here also in verse 15, just for your own personal ease of reading and clarification of what you're reading. The unclean and the clean person may eat thereof, as of the roebuck, a clean animal, and of the hart. Now I don't know what hart is. Let's find out what hart is. Just for my own personal. Okay, so we have hart here, and so it is H3. Oh, stag. Okay, yeah, hart. Why couldn't they do? That's King James. That's one of the issues I have, but that's okay, man. We can work through it. A hart is a stag. It is a deer. It is a clean animal. Okay, so that is 1522. And when we go back to 12, what is it? 12:15. Yeah. Let's go back to 12:15. Get my Bible on my keyboard again. Okay, again, they have hart, which is a, let me click on it again to get it back. It is a deer. The roebuck? I thought the roebuck was a deer too. Gazelle. Okay, gazelle. It's a clean animal. That's where are the gazelles at? The gazelles are over there. But the gazelles, yeah. So the gazelle is a clean animal, and then the deer, of course, is a clean animal, along with the elk. In America, we have elk. Very, very good eating. The elk. Just cook your elks, not slow necessarily, but it cooks quicker than deer. It cooks quicker than beef. So be careful if you're cooking elk on the barbecue pit. Okay, so let's I think we've beat that dead horse enough. The unclean and the clean person may eat thereof, as the roebuck, the gazelle, and the hart, the deer, both clean animals. Okay, let's move on. Verse 16. Let's go back to the other Bible program. Verse 16, only you shall not eat the blood. You shall pour it upon the earth as water. Okay, we see this. This is a command that we are not to eat blood. We are not to drink blood. When you are eating, going out to the restaurant or having a barbecue in your backyard or whatever, or frying a steak in your fry pan in your kitchen, cook it beyond blood. Okay, when you cut into it and you got blood running out, don't eat it. Okay, cook it a little bit longer. Now, where do we find this command being repeated? Well, we find it in the book of Acts, chapter 15. In the book of Acts, chapter 15, verse 20, Acts 15:29, and Acts chapter 21 and verse 25. I have that notation in my Bible. So in verse 16 in my Bible right here, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but in my Bible, verse 16, I have added Acts chapter 15 and verse 20, verse 29, and then Acts 21:25. And I have repeated that up here in verse 24. Only be sure that thou eat not the blood. The blood, for the blood is the life. And thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. Okay, do not eat rare meat. Do not eat meat where you cut into it and the blood's running out. Don't do it. You can eat it if it's pink. I prefer my steak pink. But, man, if I cut into it and blood runs out on the plate, forget about it, man. put it back on the fry pan, or put it back on the grill, whatever, man. I don't eat the blood. Thou shalt not eat it. Thou shalt pour it out upon the earth as water. Okay, and that is a hint about properly slaughtered beef, deer, elk, gazelle, whatever. The blood is to, when those animals are slaughtered, the blood is to be drained out. They are to cut the throat of the animal, and then the blood is drained out. When you guys go deer hunt, you know this. If you're walking in obedience to the Torah and you're outdoorsy and you go deer hunting, elk hunting, whatever, well, you know that when you slaughter the animal, or when the animal is killed, then you're going to hang it up on a tree or whatever, and you're going to drain out the blood. That is a properly slaughtered animal. The blood is drained out. Okay, so again, in verse 24, I have written in my Bible here for clarification, for study purposes, Acts chapter 15, verse 20, verse 29, and then Acts chapter 21 and verse 25. And then I have that repeated again up here in chapter 15 of Deuteronomy, verse 23. Again, it's repeated. And then I have my notations. So I do that for clarification. In Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 22, again, we have the clarification that when Scripture is talking about the clean and unclean alike may eat of it, it is talking about the clean and unclean person may eat of it. Okay, let's get back to the questions. Because I get to rambling here, and I want to stay focused. Okay, so this is talking about right here. This is talking about clean and unclean animals. Deuteronomy chapter 14. Remember, Leviticus chapter 11 is the first time that the food laws are laid out and documented, and for the people to learn and to obey. And then chapter 14 of Deuteronomy is Moses reiterating the food laws to a new generation. And before I leave you guys, I need to find out. I know it was Josh, the three spies. Well, that's a whole nother story. I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit trail, because I know that Joshua and Caleb came back with a positive report. So I think it was only two that survived, Joshua and Caleb. But I'm going to look that up just for my own clarification. So chapter 14 of Deuteronomy is strictly talking about clean and unclean animals. Verse 22 of Deuteronomy 12 is talking about clean and unclean persons. Okay. Now, the next question. Verse 26 of Deuteronomy 14. And this is within, this person is correct. My friend here is correct that this is within this week's Torah portion. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 26 now. And I think we'll go use this Bible program here. So let me get my Bible off my keyboard again. And I think it was first chapter 14 and verse 26. Yeah. Okay. So in the King James, this is of course with the Strong's Concordance, with the Strong's numbers in it. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, for I'm sorry, folks, I have a hard time talking the King James English here. And thou shalt bestow that money. Okay, this again, if the temple was too far for these people to make these pilgrimage feasts, they had to have animals for sacrifices. If it was too far for them to bring the animals with them, then they could bring money to buy animals. Okay, remember when Yeshua, when he overturned the tables of the money changers and all the doves, and all this? Well, this is what was going on. They should not have had these places of commerce within the temple grounds. That's what Yeshua had a problem with. But but that was the function of what was going on. The people were making the pilgrimage feast, and then they were trading their money for the shekel or for the temple. I don't know. You guys that are experts in the Torah, you have to give me some leeway here. But that is what is going on here. They were trading money for the money that could be used in the temple. So anyway, but I think the confusion is right here. Okay, let me read this. And I'm sorry, I cannot do it from the King James. Let's try the International Standard Version. Okay, here we go. Okay, so verse 26 of Deuteronomy 14, and you may spend the money in your heart's content to buy livestock, flocks, wine, and strong drink, whatever you desire. You and your household may eat there and rejoice in the presence of Yahovah your Elohim. So I don't know what the question is about. I know that in the Pentecostal background that I was raised in, of course, Pentecostals, they're pretty much unaware of these verses anyway. But wine and strong drink. Okay, if the question is concerning this, wine and strong drink, if the question is concerning these words right here, wine and strong drink, yeah, the Father permits intoxication at the feast. Okay, I know that that's hard to swallow for some folks, but 3 times a year, the Father allows his people to drink wine and strong drink. That's talking about brandy, it's talking about anything at a higher alcohol content from the grape that was fermented at that time. So that is what that is talking about. Wine and strong drink. 3 times a year, the Father allows his people to loosen up and have a good time and to rejoice. Remember, there's several passages in the Bible where it talks about wine will make the heart happy. Okay? The wine makes people not to the point of, intoxication, but to have a glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine at your weekly Sabbath, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, the Father permits it. At the feast, at the 3 pilgrimage feast, and the Sabbath is a weekly feast. There's nothing wrong with having a glass or two of wine. The Father permits it right here. So, and then strong drink, something stronger than wine at the feast. If somebody wanted to have a glass of, I don't know, brandy or something made from the grape that has higher alcohol content, the Father permits it. So if the question was about these words right here, that's the answer. The Father permits his people to rejoice and have a happy heart at the feast. The 3 pilgrimage feast, we have the feast today. They're not pilgrimage feasts for us. They're just feast of remembrance, a celebration of the feast. We have Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We have the Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot. And then we have Shavuot, the 1-day Feast of Pentecost. Those are the 3 pilgrimage feasts. And the Father permits his people to rejoice and to have a good time and to be happy at the feast. So that's what that is referring to right there. Now I apologize about not being an expert in the Torah. I'm just a student along with you guys, okay? I learn something new every day. So this for us, for me, for you guys, this is a daily, ongoing learning experience for us all. So that is what, if the question was about that, then that is my answer. Let's get back to the questions. Yeah. My friend asked me, I'm sure it has something to do with the context that I'm missing. What's even more confusing is verse 26. This is from today's Torah portions, and this person is correct. Those are the Torah portions right there. Let me get myself back up here. Okay, so yeah, so that is pretty much that. Deuteronomy 12. I hope I answered the questions concerning 12. Well, let me continue here. Let me continue reading from this from the King James Version right here, and I think I left off at verse 24. Yeah, verse 24. We are not to eat blood. We're not to drink blood. And verse 26. Only thy holy things which thou hast, thy vows thou shalt take and go into the place which Jehovah shall choose, Shiloh and then Jerusalem. And thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, upon the altar. Remember, this can only be done at the temple, at the tabernacle, with the Levitical priesthood in place and functioning. We don't have any of that anymore. And the blood of thy sacrifices shall be poured out upon the altar of Jehovah thy Elohim, and thou shalt eat the flesh. Okay. Observe and hear all these words. Observe and hear. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not for sure, but I think that verse 28, we're going to find the words Shema, observe and hear. Let's try that. Like I said, I'm not positive. I'm just guessing. But this is Deuteronomy 12:28. Let's go to the other Bible program. with the Strong's Concordance. Deuteronomy 12:28. Okay, this is not the Strong's. Let's go to the Strong's. Observe and hear, right here. H8085. Do you see that? Shema. Okay. Observe, that means to observe, keep, and obey. And hear. Shema. You can see right there. Let me go ahead and click on that, and it will come over here. To hear, H085. It is Shema right there. And you can see that right there. And it is obedience. Can you see that right here? To hear intelligently. Obedience. So observe means to hedge about, to protect. Okay, take heed. Keep. Observe. Preserve. Regard. Reserve. Okay. And hear and obey. Okay. All the words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee forever, when thou dost what is good and right in the sight of Yahovah thy Elohim. Okay, very good. All right. And then verse 28 is very important. Let's go down to verse 28. Let me get my mouse back over to my other screen here. Verse 28 right here. Observe and hear. Okay, this is Shema. Observe, hear, and obey all these words which I command thee. When Elohim, or when Yahovah thy Elohim, okay, this is, shall cut off the nations from before thee. This is talking about when they go into the land to take possession of the land that the Father has given to them. I can't do King James. Take heed to thyself, that thou be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before thee, and thou shalt not inquire after their gods. Okay, this is where we get the belief of ours that we should not be celebrating Christmas and Easter, because those are pagan rooted festivals. Those are pagan rooted holidays of the world. And this is the verse 30 and 31. These two verses right here are the foundation of our belief that we are not to celebrate any pagan rooted festival or holiday, which Christmas and Easter comes under that heading. Okay, they are both pagan, and we are not to celebrate Christmas and say that we're doing it because we're celebrating whatever, Jesus or whatever they say that they're doing by celebrating Christmas and Easter. It is not to be done. Verse 30 and 31 is the foundation that we use in our belief that we are not to celebrate Christmas and Easter. Okay, verse 32 is very important. This is a baseline, a foundational verse that the Father says that nothing is to be added to the words that he spoke to Moses, to Moshe, and nothing is to be diminished from it. Okay, lawless Christians, they have diminished from it by claiming, teaching that the Torah, the law of Moses, has been abolished and done away with. They have diminished from that. They have committed a sin. They have violated the Torah. They have violated the Father's command, where he says nobody is to diminish from the words that he spoke to Moses. And then the Orthodox Jewish community, they are equally guilty of sin because they have added to the words that Moses wrote in the Torah in the form of their Talmud, their Babylonian Talmud, and then their Jerusalem Talmud. Okay, so they are equally guilty of sin. So, okay, well, let's get back to the questions. Let me minimize this and get back to the original questions here. So I think, I apologize about being long-winded, but I hope that I answered my friend's questions concerning all this. That question A is talking about clean and unclean persons. Question B is talking about clean and unclean meat. And then question C is talking about, I'm guessing, wine and strong drink. The Father allows his people to relax, have a good time, have a happy heart at the feast. The three, what we nowadays celebrate in remembrance, the three feasts that I mentioned earlier. Those are the three feasts that we nowadays in 2026 that we celebrate in remembrance. Okay, and then the weekly seventh day Sabbath is the weekly feast. So during these times, the Father allows us to have a glass or two of wine. Just do not get intoxicated. Okay, getting intoxicated, getting drunk, being an alcoholic is a sin. Okay, so the Father don't want us doing that. But he has no problem. In fact, he permits us to have a glass or two of wine, okay? So you guys that have a hard time with that, that's fine. If you don't want to, I personally do not drink, but I understand that the Father allows us to drink. He allows us to have wine or strong drink, as long as we don't get intoxicated. Okay, so anyway, so I hope I answered your questions, and I appreciate, and I invite you guys to answer or to ask questions, because I really, really enjoy trying to answer to the best of my ability, trying to answer these questions, because it forces me to really dig into scripture, which you guys who know me know that I love really digging into scripture. So I appreciate the questions, and please keep the questions coming, because I really, really want to try to answer the questions for you guys, and give you my take on what I come up with answers. Like I said before, man, I'm just a student along with you guys. Okay. And I've changed over time, because this is a daily process of learning. I've changed my views on things. I mean, I have videos from a couple of years ago that where I'm talking about stuff that I have learned new things since then. So I'm slowly going over my videos from 1, 2, 3 years ago, and I'm going through the actual scripts. And as I have grown in this walk of faith in Messiah Yeshua, that now includes obedience to the Torah. I've been doing this now for, I don't know, 14 years. I'm still just scratching the surface of what there is available for me to learn. The Father is not going to force us to learn everything there is in the Torah all at once. Okay, that was a burden on the people. That is what Acts chapter 15 is all about. You know, no one can learn the entire Torah. Okay, it takes time, and the Father will slowly open up our understanding of the Torah. Okay, so I'm learning new stuff all the time. So, okay, well, I'm going to close this out. I have rambled on long enough. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching this. So, shalom to you, and we'll see you in the next word study video. Okay, shalom. Bye-bye now.